cutting 2 this year.
Yes, Jerry.
You know, like I said, I keep bringing up Larner because I've dealt with them before, and they're a bigger city than we are with them before, and they're a bigger city than we are. They got a prison out there, which means they have a more transient population. I would imagine people moving in, taking jobs and leaving, but they're $75. And 75 to 100 is what I've ran into most places I've lived. My hometown of Belleville is higher than that, but they allow you 3 months to pay it. Sterling, I think, was higher than that. And when I leave St. John's, Sterling will be one place I won't be applying to their newspaper for because it's high. You know, I mean.
But is Larner, I mean, are they apples for apples?
Well,
Water,
sometimes,
sewer, electricity?
did they have connection fees?
No, she said they hadn't. They had talked about dropping their deposit and going to connection fees, but they decided not to.
A lot of
But-
cities have gone to
Uh-huh.
connection fees and they make it just as high, but they don't have to pay interest on it or ever pay it back. It just goes into your pocket
Yeah.
and they don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
this
it.
is refundable.
Yeah,
It's refundable.
yeah.
$300 one year.
Eventually, but we have accounts that still have their money here since, what'd you say, 1990?
Because they're not in
Yeah.
good standing.
Yeah, so that's $250 of their money that they have had no use
No,
of for
it's 75,
16.
it was 75
Oh,
then.
okay. But yeah, so I mean, feasibly in the near future, or in 10 years down the road, I could be sitting here with $250 that I've had no use of for 12 years because I was late on my electric bill a couple of times. And like I say, in this economy now, it is really tough for people to make their bills, and yeah, they're gonna be late. You know, it's hard for a family, especially single parent, stuff like that, or you know, me and my dog. You know,
I would only be in favor of not raising it, and not lowering it. Leave it the same.
Stay at 250.
the thing I've noticed we have a lot of people living here in town that work at Larner, and
Everything else is going up. I'll be in favor to leave it the same.
and I can see us losing some of those people here as housing becomes available in Larner. They're like, I work in Larner, and I can pay $75 to move there for utilities. It's $250 here.
But to do that, you gotta,
We have to do a new ordinance, so
Add-
if you
add a
direct
cap.
not to do, we'll just bring a new ordinance.
Okay, do we need to amend the other one?
Yeah, you need to pass a whole, you need to
It's gonna be a whole.
probably have a motion to withdraw that ordinance that way, because
I
it
mean,
is.
withdraw it.
Why don't you have a motion to withdraw
And then-
it and do that?
Bobby, do you have any more comments?
No, I'm still questioning how that's good. That's my own personal view.
Well, would you go along with 200 instead of 250?
No, I would go along with the average monthly bill.
Or 1 month's bill?
One
See,
month
I think that's a good idea too.
yeah, the whole cities. Yep. That makes sense.
I would suggest that if you do something like that, if you're gonna take a monthly bill, pick the highest bill
in the month.
in the year. Pick the highest month in the year and use that as your top number. Rather than because $200, I mean, like this family of 4, I mean, you had a $400, $450 bill, $200 is only gonna cover it.
We could at least have her check the average and bring it to us and see what it looks like.
Now, what kind of average are you talking
Yeah,
about,
what do you,
Kevin?
All the city bills, right? The whole town,
1 month.
800 meters or whatever it is.
Okay.
why don't you pick the August or July month and
Doesn't hurt to look.
Yeah.
Which,
And
there's
see
a
what
lot
that
of
is, see what the average
lot of
is.
$1,000 bills. You know,
But you're gonna
Okay,
weigh
Doug.
apples to apples.
What are you
Yeah, I
gonna do
mean,
between
You
now
have
and
commercial
then?
accounts, or you just talking residential accounts?
What are you gonna do between now and then if someone moves into town?
As
Well,
the ordinance stands, the way.
Okay.
If you withdraw this ordinance, the old ordinance will still be there, so.
yeah, is ordinance 979?
I mean, this one hasn't taken effect because you haven't published it, so.
Right.
If we were gonna take
So
this
you
one.
can move to have this one withdrawn, and then we'll bring the ordinance, so then you'll have time. The old
So
one's
we
still
will be
in
covered.
effect.
Okay,
The old one's
Yeah, the
still
old
in
one
effect.
still.
Because it hasn't changed because this hasn't been published.
okay.
What,
So you need a motion.
were you gonna change the ordinance for residential and commercial with that 300?
Uh-huh. Well, with the new ordinance was for both, yeah,
Oh, I'd average it all.
so average for,
Wouldn't you? Or you want to just do residential?
No, I would average a residential and average business. You can't compare residential against business,
Yeah.
because your electricity and my electricity is astronomical.
I mean, you got buildings.
Buildings.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
School.
Garage.
Co-op.
You
and-
couldn't do that.
residential. Oh,
Do both.
Let's look at it, see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you gonna decipher which month you want? Because see, like you have
We'll
January.
just go to
it's
the
cold.
highest billing month for the year. Right.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna take
if you
July or
got
August.
August, you know, air conditioners, you could have, you know, extremely high bill there
That's what-
compared to your gas bill in, you know, in the winter.
Well,
Yeah, we don't sell
We
gas.
don't sell
Well,
gas.
that's just, you know, around the-
Donna's billing statistics will give us the information we need for this. And I'll bring that to you next time. Okay. But we do need a motion for this, right?
Could I have a motion to withdraw that?
I move we withdraw that ordinance.
979.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, the next thing up on John's administration is the 2009 COLA. I'm assuming that Tom wanted this tabled so we could look at his figures a little better. And so I'm assuming that we should keep it tabled till Tom is available, because he didn't give any comment. And Becky, because neither one of them said anything to John today on the phone saying that they weren't gonna be here.
Becky had let me know that she was
That's
going
a fair decision.
Okay. Okay.
Because we probably make it retroactive to the first of the year.
whatever.
Yeah.
It'd take a long time.
Okay, and then John, you want to help me in section seven?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's start with 15 minutes and see if we can do it in
John needs an executive session for 15 minutes,
a minute.
attorney client.
For council, mayor, myself, and Dawn.
So moved.
Second motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
I'll move for another 15 minutes executive session with council, Jonna, the attorney, and the mayor.
For the same purpose.
For the same client attorney privilege.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Oil on that sucker. Mel, you got some WD-40? No.
We have time left?
Minute and a half.
You can discuss something, you just can't take any action on
I'm thinking there probably isn't anything left there to discuss.
Topped out, huh?
Well, we did enough.
More than
You got it over here, and we did enough. This way.
Call the council meeting back to order. John, you have anything else on your agenda?
That's it.
Is there any questions for John this evening? Thank you, John. Administration, Mel.
I don't have anything unless the council has something.
Is there any questions for Mel this evening? Thank you, Mel. Fire Department, Leonard.
Yeah, I want to discuss a little issue that's come up. The Jim Moulton family left a memorial to the St. John Fire Department, and we were discussing it, you know, to see which way it's supposed to go. You know, whether it goes into the city or it goes to the fire department. But all the others, Ernest Waters, gave it to the fire department, Ernest Waters, Merle High, and all them. and the fire department was able to take that money and purchase something for the, fire trucks or something. So I just was wondering, because I hadn't heard any amounts or anything, to see if that was still, we were still able to do
If
that.
you come in the morning, I can give you those amounts of what has come in.
Because I just, I talked to
I
John.
had, yeah, I had Donna look back for me to see how they had done it before, and they did it the same way.
Because, I'd like to purchase that road, that circular, that saw that we was needing,
We haven't done that yet?
Different one.
A different one?
No, we got the chainsaw, we got that, it's on the truck, everything's labeled, and like I say,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so I guess you can come in the morning and Jonna will
Even Donna, she
I'll be
takes
here at
it.
6 o'clock in the morning, John.
You go ahead, we'll be open.
You'll be waiting until probably about 7 when I get here.
Okay. Is there anything else, Leonard?
If I'm not here, Donna can give you that information.
Unless the council has something,
Okay, is there any questions for Leonard tonight? Thank you, Leonard.
thank you.
Police Department, Sunny,
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
is there any questions for Sunny this evening? Thank you, Sunny. Legal, Dawn?
I brought up about several months ago about the disagreement between the city of Arma, Kansas and Westar Energies. There was another meeting Thursday in Emporia that will discuss the Westar contract that they're offering, but it's mainly going to be the cities that are involved in that contesting the pop-up to Emporia and listen in to see what they're doing. Because our contract comes up a year from June, so we need to start thinking about Stafford. I think right now their Westar Midwest Energy has reoffered the same arrangement that they have, and the contract is from Westar has not even been approved by KCC or by the SPP or AM, so it's still in limbo. So I think they looked at their numbers compared to the Kansas Power Pool, and they were fairly, actually they weren't that far out of whack from what Midwest Energy had offered them compared to the other things that were out there at the time. So I think they're going to be leaning toward another one-year extension with Midwest Energy. Now it'll put us on the same cycle as them, so we might be able to be helpful. The reason I bring that up is because a lot of times, like Midwest Energy is requiring cities to buy energy in the 1 meg increments. So you either buy 1 meg at a base block or you buy 2 meg base block. One is about, for Stafford, 1 is not quite enough, 2 is way too much. And it'd be nice for them, really ideally for them, 1.5 meg base load would be ideal. And I think if you look at St. John's load, we're going to be very similar to that. Our base load is going to be typically, if we run like we do in the winter, probably 1.5 meg load would be probably a good base to buy. Well, we can't, I mean, between the two, I think we can work a deal with Midwest Energy to split that third meg load. But, and so it'd be nice to be on the same cycle, and we can do a paper swap on billing back and forth. I mean, it can be a paper transaction, but the energy will still be there. So
we can each buy half.
we can each buy half a meg that we might need. So I think from the long point of view, it's probably gonna be better to get on the same cycle as them, and we can negotiate in pairs as opposed to trying to cut this on our own. So we're okay for this year, but next year we are gonna have to we're gonna start looking at it probably in the fall. So
Well,
that's kind of what we're thinking right now with Greg. So we've been kind of working on this for Stafford for a couple of months. But
Will Greg be there at Emporia then too?
will we be locked into a base load for the whole length of the contract?
that is one of the things we need to talk about at the time.
Okay.
I think we need, from what most of the cities are doing, or they're trying to do, is get a long-term base load. You know, and I don't have a problem signing a 20-year deal on something like that, because you know you're gonna need the energy. It's that increment from your base load to your peak, that's the expensive part of it. And it usually comes in the 3 months out of the summer, and so you're gonna probably buy that, you know, on market price. So that you average the two down, and that's where you get your average cost for the kilowatt hour. But we definitely want to have some kind of a base load, you know, and if we decide to do wind as part of that or whatever, then we need to calculate that in there. So
Yeah,
if we are doing some wind stuff or whatever, that needs to be probably pursued within the next 9 months or so, so we can kind of get that figured in when we start negotiating with Midwest Energy.
well, and if we get lucky and we get some sort of businesses here that use electricity, we might need a larger base.
Well,
If we
you
don't,
can always
we
buy
might need
more
a
base load, you can always buy more, but you don't wanna buy too much, cause then your bill goes too far the other way. You're paying for a lot of energy you're not using, and it's just like throwing money down the drain. So you wanna calculate your base load that's gonna just about cover exactly what you're gonna need in the low
All right,
months.
and if you need more, then you can up it,
You can always buy more.
but if you need less, you can't.
I mean, if you sign a long, the cheapest thing to do is to buy a long-term base load agreement from somebody, whether it's Westar. You know, it's gonna make more sense, I mean, if we can get it worked out, it's gonna make more sense to buy it directly from Westar than it is to buy it from Midwest Energy, where they mark it up, and they turn around and buy it from Westar or from somebody else. So if we can get in the negotiations and buy a base load from a supplier, you know, that actually produces it, then what they are, Midwest, or Westar is offering some other things beside that 20-year deal. They just started coming out with a couple of other scenarios, so they are starting to see that not everybody's just gonna bite off on their 20-year deal and let it rise. They have backed off, and I think what I told you earlier, they had that 7% ratchet in there for every year. Well, they backed that off to now about 3%. So it's not, they had figured in those figures, they had the 7%, they were projecting the new coal plant being online within, but after all the scuttle with the state, they took that out, so that lowered their, but what they are proposing is a mix of one of their coal-fired plants and one of their gas turbine plants. So you mix the value of those together, and that becomes their base load piece. So, I mean, they've got some new formulas that are coming up, which hopefully will be more advantageous, but they're gonna get us no matter how we do it.
Well, I'm just thinking about all of the major changes that may occur in the landscape of different kinds of energy things.
Probably the biggest piece that might change this year is if the price of natural gas stays down during the summer, we might have at least a flat year. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see the increases we did last year. But who knows what natural gas will be doing in 6 months.
Well, I'm concerned that you won't have governments telling you you have to get 20% energy from different things that don't exist now. And it's hard to say what it's gonna be in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Of course, I guess if the state changes the law, then that would affect your contract.
Well, I mean, I know one of the things that they've got in front of them is change the net metering law for like wind farms. I mean, that will make a significant effect on wind farms and particularly people that want to put in their own wind generation in the country. I mean, because that will have a definite effect on how they get compensated back rather than just a fractional amount that they get now. I mean, they can get back what they would be putting into it. So. And I think that's one of the things on the table in the legislature.
I think the wind is going to be feasible in time, but I think right now it's a little early.
It's a little,
My
yeah,
personal opinion.
it's been, yeah, when you got natural, I mean, it's tough to put in wind energy when you got natural gas down there at $4 or $5 a
That's right.
MCF, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, but when it's up for $15,
Then it's pretty good.
then it looks pretty good. So,
I think we're just a little early.
And I think solar is becoming more attractive.
yeah, but it's still pretty high.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it still
But
comes
you-
in, it still comes in at 9 or 10 cents a kilowatt
you
hour.
get the most of it when you're using the most energy, where wind, you don't necessarily get the most of it in the summer or whatever. You would solar energy.
I think solar and wind's just pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's,
That's where I'm gathering anyway.
it's, yeah, they're,
They don't have to go up 300 feet for solar.
but you can't have that many clouds.
Well, we don't have,
If you look at the chart for solar energy
uh,
for Kansas, it's marginal. The only county that is in the high rate area for solar energy in the state of Kansas is Morton County and the very southeast quarter. I mean, the maps show all the southwest course, so New Mexico and Oklahoma and Arizona and Southern California, those are all prime solar states. But you get, the further north you get, the feasibility becomes lower.
yeah, but again, solar isn't gonna get more expensive,
No.
and the other stuff may, so.
So any more questions for Don this evening? Thank you, Don. Is there any new business? Is there any old business? Yes, Jim.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.